Welcome to Our Thread, the podcast, bringing our content to you. I'm All It Is, and I'm here with my hearties. Beware, Cap, Doc, and Savage. Today, we bring you episode 11, Pulp Fiction vs. Jaws. Two great movies that have something substantial hidden and lurking beneath, whether it be in a briefcase or the depths of the ocean. Our Thread member, Beware, used his mulligan to replace Birdman with a sweeping vote, where all our members agreed that Birdman is good, and maybe even great, but not one of the 64 greatest movies of all time. Then we had the pleasure of viewing the Mulligan movie replacement Jaws together at
Chateau Sauvage,
Savage's backyard movie theater. And I gotta say, watching a movie with your friends makes a great movie even greater. But before we get into the matchup, let me give a special shout out to tonight's sponsor. Prism is an iPhone and Android compatible app that allows you to keep track and manage all of your bills and allows you to pay everything with a single swipe. I've been using Prism for a couple years now, and I don't miss any bills. And I used to miss a few, folks, because I forgot to send in that check. So before you forget your next bill, check out Prism today. Folks, it's bracket breakdown time, but not before we hear that intro music produced by our Thread member, Beware. Go.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Well, it's very, homey.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here.
I hope you realize how you hurt my feelings.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Next place.
Just take it easy, man.
I'm perfectly confident.
Yeah, waving the fucking gun around?
Calmer than you are.
Now, look, I made a mistake, all right? It didn't make any difference anyway.
Hey, I'm letting it go. But don't say it doesn't matter. Every line matters.
Get off my back!
Don't fuck with my plan!
And like that, he's gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread podcast, bringing our content to you, featuring All It Is.
It's official, old buddy. Well, it has been.
Beware.
From then on, he was known as Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
The Doc.
You're the doc, Doc.
The Cap.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Pig fuck!
And myself, Savage.
I'm 6'5", 220, and there's two of them.
Homework's in, let's begin. We all saw that great white monster together, but somehow here we are with another Quentin Tarantino classic, Pulp Fiction. Doc, how was your viewing of Pulp Fiction? I know we all got to see Jaws together.
Oh, man, it was great. Sweet Amy and I watched it last night. Man, it just, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, personal list. And watching it after having watched all these movies over the past several months and through this new lens, I feel like I just appreciated it on a whole other level that I didn't even know existed.
Pulp Fiction, I'd say it's one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino films, but now it's like in the running for my favorite. And I know that says a lot because we just did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Cap, I would imagine you've seen Pulp Fiction over 20 times. How did you feel going back to watch it under that lens?
Yeah, it was great. Always appreciate this movie. Love how it tells the story, jumping around in time. I will say I probably watched the beginning scene probably more than 100 times when I was in high school. Me and a pal of mine, a mutual friend of all of ours, recorded this scene. And we're talking about this scene from, when they're in the car at the beginning and they're talking about the Royale with cheese and the metric system into where they pay Brad and his pals a visit. A bloody visit. So yeah, I did this shot for shot for my acting class, and I played Vincent Vega, and it was the first cigarettes I've ever smoked, probably. And I bought a pack because I didn't know what to buy. I had a Zippo, and I had a pack of Marlboro menthol lights, and I remember in the outtakes, I had about 7 or 8 cigarettes in my mouth at once, and I was lighting them all, saying, I'm 18, I can smoke as much as I want. Fuck it.
Tarantino turned you into a smoker. Cap the actor, Cap the artist. you know, hey, you still got a chance.
Pulp Fiction is to Cap what Scientology is to Travolta, it sounds like. So.
You know, I'll tell you what, the coolest thing, I will mention this, we took one of those hanging lights, garage lights that you use to like work on your car or whatever, and put it inside of a briefcase. So when we opened it up, it lit up my face. It was pretty choice.
Hey, a little fact here. That's all that was in the briefcase was 2 lights rigged to a battery. So you're pretty close to doing your.
No, it was Marcellus Wallace's actual soul.
Oh, we'll get to that. Let's go to Beware with. I know he's the same. Seen Pulp Fiction handfuls of times. So Beware, what'd you think?
It was actually the first time I'd seen Pulp Fiction ever. Blew my mind.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously kidding. The way that Pulp Fiction has left an imprint on Cap's life with the cigarette introduction, I think it's left an imprint on most people's lives. It's a pop cultural phenomenon. It has been since this movie came out in, I believe, like 1994. I was 10 years old at that point, and I think even then, I remember it came out, and I remember thinking, like, this is an important movie. I wasn't allowed to see it, and it was something that I wanted to check out just because it had so much cachet, adult cachet. I remember Doc's dad had the soundtrack, and thinking like, whoa, what is this? This is an X-rated soundtrack, and then it's not that at all. It's just it's got some righteous tunes on it, obviously, and that are very stand out in their own right. But ultimately, it's a movie that every beat hits. Every 5 minutes you're seeing something that you can recall back to another point, where you've seen that movie, or just how it influences another aspect of your life, or just it's filled with nothing but great moments like that. And I think to the counter, it's Jaws. Jaws is one long moment, it feels like. So I think they're quite different movies when you try to compare them. And I was really trying to find the comparison points, and all it is made the good one. You do have the kind of big figure lurking throughout the movie, but beyond that, they're quite different movies, and I'll be interested to see kind of how we break them down and compare and contrast them along the way.
How about this? Pulp, a soft, moist, shapeless mass of matter. 2, a magazine or book containing lurid subject matter being characterized or printed on rough, unfinished paper. What a weird way to start a movie, but this is kind of a movie of mystery and maybe of definition and kind of making up your own explanations for some things. But I think we touched on a bunch of stuff for Pulp Fiction, but let's get to that great white shark in the ocean. Jaws, like I said, watching a movie with your friends makes it even greater. Maybe that's another type of lens, being around people, especially that, appreciate movies. I watched about a half an hour of it right when I knew it was homework, just because I hadn't seen it. I wanted to I haven't seen it in a long, long time. I wanted to refresh my memory. And I got to even say, just watching that half hour over again at Chateau Sauvage, it hit harder and it was good. And I do think like there's a ton of extra stuff going on in Jaws, which is kind of, a lot of extra actors, maybe some smaller roles. But when you get to the core characters, you really get it set into place, and you see that this movie is very substantial and deserves its roses. Doc, I think you were the one that said you hadn't seen it before. I think I'm wrong about that. Somebody else hadn't seen it before. I think Doc?
Sweet Amy.
Oh, Sweet Amy hadn't seen it before. God bless her.
Which after this movie, we're actually not calling her Sweet Amy anymore because she lost her innocence after having watched Jaws. Yeah, man. So it was fun again to watch with the crew. My wife, Amy, had not seen it before. I think there were a couple other folks on the thread that hadn't seen it in a long time. And then I think a couple other significant others in attendance maybe hadn't seen it in a while. So it was fun to watch outdoors, perfect weather. That being said, typically when I watch these movies, I sit down, I've got my notepad or I've got my notes app out on my phone. This time I kind of just went and just enjoyed the movie with some guds. And so yesterday afternoon, didn't really have any notes for Jaws, so I actually did a little bit of extra credit, I guess. I put on a documentary on Jaws, or the making of, and was just so enthralled with basically how this movie even survived the production process. It basically was up against so much adversity and faced so much adversity. Let me just share a little bit with you guys. So this was Steven Spielberg's second feature film. He was 27 years old directing at the time, had very little experience prior to this. And actually only got the part because the first director that they hired to film this movie went in and started talking about the movie and his imagination for the first shot, and kept calling the shark a whale. And the people that own the store, the producers, were like, we're not going to have this guy, can't even tell the difference between a whale and a shark. And so they went and offered it to Steven Spielberg and brought him in. But this movie was initially budgeted for $3.5 million and was slated or scheduled to shoot in 55 days. It ended up doubling the budget, more than doubling the budget, going to $9 million, and tripling the shooting, going from 55 days to 160 days about. And so along the way, here are some of the issues that they encountered. One is that shooting at sea they were insane to do it. And because you have to think, like, if they're out on the sea, which more than half the film is shot out on the Atlantic Ocean, this was filmed in Martha's Vineyard, basically the stability or the instability of the waves, the wind, the lighting is all impossible to predict and impossible to stage. And so they really were thrown in the weather. A lot of this was shot with handheld cameras because they tried to do it other ways, but had to get creative. Also, if they got set up to do something, they forgot a part, they had to send somebody back on a boat to go get it from the land and bring it back. And so just all sorts of delays and issues with that. Also, there was a drama with cast members, so some kind of, we'll get to a little bit later. And one of the primary things is that they had technical issues with the shark. So this shark was supposed to play a much more predominant role in this movie. The shark was designed and tested in water before bringing it up to the Northeast for the film. However, it was tested out in fresh water, not salt water. So when they got this mechanical shark out into the ocean, the salt water just started eating away at everything. And basically this shark was malfunctioning. And the documentary that I saw, Spielberg was saying, like, literally, you could tell he was traumatized by this whole experience. Says he still has nightmares to this day about filming this movie. And because each day for the first month, like, production had to stop because the shark was malfunctioning. And so, and as a result of that, they had to basically do rewrites on the movie every single day, or the night before shooting, him and his co-writer, and basically had to redo the movie in a completely different way. So they had to rely on two primary things when shooting the shark. One is that they had to come up with shooting the shark in such a way such that they didn't have to rely on the actual shark, which arguably maybe made it a better movie. The other thing that they had to, and so Spielberg talks a lot about how he relied on kind of Alfred Hitchcock as a influence on that. And then also is the score. They had to rely on the score of the shark to kind of be that character. And so I know Savage is kind of our man, or soundtracks movies. I wonder if he has any facts about the score for this movie.
Basically, the movie for the Jaws score relies on two notes, E and F. So it's kind of a atypical scoring, because that's the whole motif for the film all the way through. Basically boils down to these two notes. When John Williams first described the motif to Jaws to Spielberg, he was playing it for him on the piano, and Spielberg thought he was joking and was like, come on, what do you really got? He was expecting something a lot more melodic, something that's a little more tense. He was thinking more along the lines of the stabbing scene at Bates Motel in Psycho, as like kind of that like high pitch, something to kind of along those lines to kind of create that suspense. Due to a lot of the technical issues that the shark was facing in the movie, Spielberg was relying heavily on the score to kind of save the movie, which he does attribute to actually saving the movie, because Spielberg, in numerous interviews since the movie released initially, he speaks to how much John Williams had such an impact on the film itself and how successful it was. And also a little fun fact too is George Lucas was the one that kind of that said, "Hey, try this guy, Spielberg. You're gonna really love this guy. His name's John Williams. He's done a few of my movies before." So that ended up being a kind of a match made in heaven for those two.
You know, back to what Doc was just saying really quick, it didn't look sloppy, folks. I didn't see a change in definition, or it really did look good. And the fact that you don't see the shark so much, I think makes it that much more suspenseful.
Yeah, this movie was one that I don't think I have ever seen all the way through. What I remember from it, and possibly something that sort of scared me away from it when I was a kid, is seeing that leg sink to the bottom of the ocean floor. the guy that's in the boat, I think, gets attacked when he's with the kids, and he says, what does he say to those kids? If we could maybe get a soundbite of this. Hey, you guys need help?
I'm doing it! Hey, fellas, all in the sheet, make it fast. Hey, you guys okay over there?
He gets knocked off his boat, and then he gets his leg chopped off, I'm pretty sure. That, as a little kid's, kind of was just like, all right, you guys have fun watching this. So yeah, this is PG rating. Kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, no way.
Blew my mind that there's a man who just gets straight eaten alive in this movie, and they show it, and it's pretty crazy. I would like to say that I think that this movie is pretty terrifying in a way, even though it's it's a little older and maybe, I don't know, kind of funny at parts. I just think that everything that went wrong kind of fell in place, because it does kind of psychologically mess with you. I think it's a great thing that you don't get to see the shark until probably more than halfway through the movie. When you see it, it's gigantic. Yeah,
I'm sure it started a lot of phobias, because the ocean's a pretty freaking scary place, and I know it did. And I think we know it. I have to check with Doc that great whites are not the most dangerous shark in the ocean. It would be a mackerel, or however you pronounce it.
Fact checking with all it is. Actually, bull sharks are known to be the most dangerous shark in the ocean. Not great white sharks, bull sharks.
Tiger shark. Oh, what?
There's our synopsis for these two movies. What I want to talk about now is characters. Man, here we are with another Tarantino film, and you have to pick. You can't just pick one of them. Every character is playing such a good part. But Vincent and Julius.
I have so much jewelry. I got more jewelry, and it's not even about the jewelry, because
it's jewelry. All it is, it's actually jewels. You fucking idiot.
It's hard to pick one or the other, because they really have that friendship dynamic we talk about so much. It's in every great film, and I love how they are teaching each other. They are learning from each other, quoting each other later, and their relationship is constantly building. And it's just one of these things that is like what really hits home when you're watching a great movie is you hit them with the friendship, that great friendship that we all have here on our thread. So I'm going to go with Vincent. John Travolta's character is my favorite. I'd say it's his best film ever. He plays the out of it kind of, druggy, but cool in a way that I think is you couldn't have replaced him. He does that so well. The driving scene where his just eyes are so low. And when he walks into Uma Thurman's house, which, forgive me, I don't have that up right now. I want to start calling him by Mia. And
or Mrs. Wallace.
Mrs. Wallace, indeed. But where, she's directing him through the house to the intercom. And then, of course, when he gets taken out halfway through the movie and you're like, oh, damn, there goes one of my characters. But as Cap said in the beginning, you have at times all over the place. So you get him back. And I really like that. So that's going to be my character,
that scene where Vincent is being summoned by the PA system inside the house. I knew that meme of Travolta looking around trying to looking for something. I knew that was from Pulp Fiction. I never knew exactly what scene that was from. So it was kind of funny to see that and be like, oh yeah, of course, it's when she's trying to like talk to him and he doesn't know where the fuck the sound's coming from. So I thought that was pretty good.
Warmer, disco.
Yeah,
Just
make yourself a drink, and I'll be down in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Savage, since you were going back and forth, why don't you tell me who your favorite character might be?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I really like a lot of the people in Jaws. I think Roy Schneider or Snyder or whatever we pronounce it. Scheider. It's not even, there's no N in it. Okay, Roy Scheider does a great job. But I still have to give it to it's going to be Jules from Pulp Fiction. Sam Jackson's the man. This part was written for him. Up until that point, Samuel Jackson wasn't in, like, he was a bit player in some of these like New Jack movies that were coming out in the early 90s, late 80s. So he didn't really have those like big parts. So this is definitely the largest part he had up until that point. I can't remember if Jurassic Park came out. I know it came out in 94, but I wasn't sure if that came out before or after Pulp Fiction. Is there any confirmation there?
Pretty sure it was afterwards, because if looking at the Academy Awards, it was not in that year's Academy Awards with Paul.
Okay. That's probably when people started realizing that he's kind of like that guy. You'd seen him in a bunch of movies, and you see him in like Jurassic Park. But I thought as him as Jules is definitely his breakthrough, and probably put him like where he is today.
Beware, what do you got as characters?
I think that it's hard not to go with Vince Vega in Pulp Fiction. He's great. I really like just the way he kind of strolls around the movie. He's just the coolest guy in the room, and I love that. And when he, gets phased, it's very obvious. I just there's a lot. Well, there's some lines that I want to say by him, but I'll hold it till we get to that section. So he'll be my choice from Pulp Fiction, but ultimately I'm gonna go with Hooper. Richard Dreyfuss from Jaws. I really like him in the movie. I like pretty much all the lead characters in Jaws. I think they're all pretty excellent. Roy Scheider is excellent. Robert Shaw is Quint. He's excellent as well. But I really do like Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper. I think he adds a level of kind of relief to the movie, in that he's relatively easygoing and as kind of a friend, as a partner to Roy Schneider's character, to the sheriff's character, and he also is the most knowledgeable about the topic, and so he brings the credibility, and he brings a level of expertise to the movie that you kind of needed at that point, and so he drives a lot of different angles in the movie, and he does so really well. It's one of his top movies for a top actor, and I think he covers a lot of ground in the movie in terms of what he brings to the table across the board from start to finish, because you really do feel his impact once he joins the cast and introduces himself looking for the sheriff.
So interesting fact that I learned about Hooper is that apparently 2 things. One, in the movie, he was actually supposed to have an affair with Chief Brody's wife. So that was interesting.
That would not have played well at all.
Not at all. And he was supposed to die in the end when he goes down in that cage.
Yeah, that I could have seen that.
The way that they shot that is because they actually used a real shark in that scene, but the original Jaws was supposed to be 25 feet long. That's what the mechanical sharks were. Typical great white sharks are only about 15, 16 feet. They shot this. They had another crew in Australia, and they had a 16-foot great white shark. And in order to make it look bigger, they actually hired an actor that was like 4 foot something, a stuntman. And then they made this is all true, and they made a smaller, cage for him to go down in. So when they were shooting, it looks like this shark is much bigger than it is. Well, and he was supposed to, get eaten within the cage. But what happened was the shark, that cage was so small, the shark actually went nuts in it, and he actually broke the cage open, and the actor inside the cage actually got out and swam down and swam away. And
Holy shit!
because the crew called Spielberg and said, we got this awesome footage of this shark attack. Like, we couldn't have been any better. And meanwhile, Spielberg's thinking like, well, shit, like we don't have any good footage and like, we can't let this footage go to waste. So they rewrote the part that Hooper gets away and goes off just to use this footage of this shark attacking the cage because of how awesome it was.
Wow, that's great. Doc, what about your favorite character?
I'll talk about my favorite character per movie. So first one is I got to go with Jules in Pulp Fiction, man. One, just his character arc in general is incredible. And just like how he goes from this, this gangster essentially to kind of, essentially wanting to walk the earth, waiting for God to tell him what to do, and kind of he experiences a miracle. And all of his lines are just so good, and just everything about him. So that's my vote for Pulp Fiction. But I'm gonna I also think in Jaws, as much as I love Brody, as much as I love Hooper, I think Captain Quint, man, was the man. And he was an actual shark hunter on the Orca, which is named after the killer whale, which they are known for killing sharks, and so he has this vendetta against sharks, which we learn through in my opinion, the best scene in Jaws, which we'll get to when we start talking about scenes, but where they're on the Orca hunting the shark, and he kind of tells us a story about the USS Indianapolis. Oh man.
Yeah.
And also like he kind of was that role. Like he was a heavy drinker. He in real life, I think Beware made me aware of this fact when we're at the chateau watching the movie, that he was like true to life alcoholic, and they had issues with him on the set, and some of the issues between him and Dreyfuss stemmed from that. But he died shortly after this film at the age of 51. He looks weathered, but he was 51 when he died.
Wow.
So much so that he actually, the USS Indianapolis scene, again, we'll talk about it, but I just want to plant the seed here. He was actually known for kind of taking shots and drinking throughout the movie between scenes and stuff. He actually asked Spielberg if he could kind of get drunk to do that scene, to shoot the USS Indianapolis scene, because that was kind of how it was written. And actually he got so drunk that he kind of made a fool of himself shooting it the first night. He woke up and was just embarrassed and called up Spielberg, and they shot it the second night, no drinks in them, but basically blew a whole night of shooting because he was so drunk. And they
8 whiskey sours.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of captains, what about our Cap over there? What was your favorite character, buddy?
Across the board, I would say you're talking about the coolest guy in the room as far as characters go. Beware said Vincent Vega. I'm gonna disagree. Say Butch is the coolest guy.
Yeah, there we are. Bruce.
Butch has been, and to this day is still my favorite character from Pulp Fiction. I love his story. I love from the very beginning where we decide in this movie that his motivation is to get his father's watch back. I do like the relationship that he has with Fabienne. I think is pretty interesting. You kind of see how they kind of have this isolated LA big city relationship where they're just kind of very much in love with each other, and he kind of takes care of her. So yeah, I like the scene with the two of them, but ultimately it just turns into the strangest fucking day of his life. I like the scene, the opening scene with Marcel Wallace, where you see the back of his head and you get the Band-Aid in the
Night
back.
of the fight, you may feel a slight sting.
He's giving him this speech about pride.
That's pride fucking with you. Fuck pride. Pride only hurts.
And that's pride fucking with you, and he's talking about him having to take a dive.
You fight through
and
that
then we get them meeting again after the a car accident, and he jumps him inside this pawn shop and gets on top of him and starts popping him in the face and said, "You're a big boy. That's pride fucking with you." And I love the fact that he makes the choice to go back for this guy that he was just about to, their lives changed the moment that these, Zed and his pal have them captive, and they go through the craziest shit ever together. Something that neither of them probably will ever talk about with another soul again.
Hey, Cap, why did he go back for that watch, though?
That's a very important watch, He keeps having this relapse dream to this dream that he keeps having about Christopher Walken's character coming into his little apartment, giving him this big speech about his father's gold watch and where it comes from, and he hid it in the one place he knew folks wouldn't find it, in his ass. 5 long years. He wore this watch up his ass. He died of dysentery. He gave me the watch. I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal in my ass 2 years. After 7 years, I'm settled with my family. Little man, I give the watch to you. And then ding, he wakes up.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, awesome, man.
Great impression.
I hope you guys would hide something in your ass for me.
Always.
2 long
The first
Thanks.
time you see Butch too, he's Ving Rhames, Marcellus Wallace is talking, and it's frozen on Butch's face on Bruce Willis's face. It looks like, and I'm not a big video game player, but it looks like a load screen for like GTA or something. It's got this like reddish like wash to it, and you're just looking at like Bruce Willis kind of pursing his lips together, kind of how he's kind of known for.
Yeah, he's always had that sort of James Dean, squinty-eyed, big lips thing going. Yeah, he does that great.
And he's supposed to be an asshole.
Right, yeah. There's been many movies documented where he's
I bet not with Quentin Tarantino, though, because greatness, hey, if he thinks he's the greatest, that's fine.
I disagree, just because Quentin Tarantino's a 27-year-old director, and Bruce Willis has been in all the Die Hard movies and was probably just a fucking, I would imagine he was probably a prick to him. He's been a prick to just about everyone he's worked with. But
Doc, do you have any facts according to how people got along on Pulp Fiction? If not, why don't you just throw a fact at us, Doc?
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit. So Bruce Willis actually wanted to be in this movie really bad, and he actually auditioned for Vincent Vega, didn't get the part. So then Tarantino didn't make the role for him as Butch, but he rewrote the role for him so that he could play Butch. Originally, it was, instead of a boxer on the decline, it was a boxer, up-and-coming boxer, and actually Matt Dillon was going to be casted to play that. But he kind of rewrote the character so that Bruce Willis could be in it, which I kind of like.
I like that idea, Matt Dillon, but I think you take it a step up with Bruce Willis playing that character, and it's like perfect that he's like this sort of boxer on his way out, the last of his career, and it's I think that's pretty cool. I never really knew that he was supposed to be an asshole, but I like that.
Speaking of asshole, I love actually that scene that Savage was talking about right when he leaves there and goes to the bar and kind of confronts Vincent Vega, and they kind of have that little exchange. I love.
Yeah, it's kind of like a foreshadow, sort of. Punchy.
Yep. Yeah, he goes, "Hey, Punchy," and he calls him Palooka. And I didn't. I didn't know what that meant. Doc. I looked that up, and it's perfect. So Palooka has two definitions. One is a stupid, clumsy, or uncouth person, and/or an inferior or average prize fighter. Last thing is that. When Vincent Vega's talking about motherfucker keyed my car, so Tarantino says that was actually Butch went out into the parking lot and keyed Vincent Vega's car, or that he was supposed to keyed his car.
Good catch. I did not see that.
Almost be worth catching him do it. Always worth him doing it just to catch him do it.
So we're talking about scenes. So let's talk about scenes. If I had to pick a favorite scene from the movie, it's got to be Pulp Fiction, and I have to say, I think this is the best And this is, you know, it's hard to think about 11 times 22 films we've watched so far.
I'm just checking your math on that. Yes. I got the same thing.
That's a lot of movies, but I think this is my favorite intro to a movie, period. The restaurant diner, robbery, the dialogue. My man it's Tim Roth, goes by Pumpkin, which is kind of funny. They have him as his name, and he calls that to his girl, which I don't have her name in front of me, but Honey Bunny. Okay, Pumpkin Honey Bunny. There, it's fantastic. It's language that we're not like necessarily familiar with, even though we know bad guys. It's kind of like anti-hero in a way, like you almost root for him in a second, and I'm glad it's foreshadowing to how the movie ends. So you can't talk about the beginning without talking about the ending, and that clearly could be somebody's best scene, but not going to steal thunder. I'm going to talk about the intro, and I pretty much did. The dialogue in there is perfect. They're actually like, I don't know, making good points about robberies, I suppose. And it's just like you're about to get sucked into something that I'm starting to see from talking to all the discussants here, that maybe even Quentin Tarantino broke some rules with, kind of like Jaws. Maybe he was just, okay, there's the Bruce Willis thing, I'll rewrite it a little bit. He broke the rules of film a little bit, yet following them so strategically because he is such a film master and appreciates the art form so much. But got to be the intro. Who wants to talk about their favorite scene?
I'll piggyback off what you were saying. To go along with the intro, I just want to touch on the music just from Pulp Fiction, because that's a huge part of that movie. Specifically the intro song, which is called Miserlou. It's by Dick Dale, who's like kind of a notable surf rock, rockabilly kind of more surf rock artist. He's real distinct guitar playing style. It's such a great way to start a movie, with between Pumpkin and Honey Bunny having the their exchange, how much they love each other right before they announce that they're gonna, everybody with your hands up, and if you fucking pricks move, I'll execute every last motherfucking one of you. And then it kicks into the song, which you're gonna do right now. All it is the best editor in chief on our thread. It's so awesome how they cut to that song, and Miramax presents, it goes the whole thing. Also, like what we were talking about with Jaws, with the music, like the Jaws theme really sums up the movie really well. That song specifically sums up Pulp Fiction extraordinarily well. It is the thing you remember most musically from that movie.
Yeah, you hear that song, you think Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
anybody hears that song, they hear that.
And it's mostly because of the trailer too, I think, because I remember the trailer having that scene, and then they're playing that music in the trailer when Uma Thurman and John Travolta are doing the dance off, even though they're not actually dancing that song. But like, if you remember, like,
pretty iconic scene too.
Exactly right. Yep. So it's one of those things. So having the Dick Dale classic is just it kind of kicks the movie off so well. As far as for me, we're talking about favorite scenes. It's going to be from Pulp Fiction as well. It's going to be the scene where they go pay Brad a visit. I know it's probably other people on our thread, but it's one of those scenes. There's so many quotables. The Bible
check
verse,
out the big brain on Brad.
That's a tasty burger.
Mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to
right.
wash this down?
It's so good that just the way they do it. Brad saying what? Say what again? Does he look like a bitch? There's so many good lines.
English motherfucker, do you speak
it? There's so many good lines from that scene. The scene is so tense. Obviously, it's kind of cool because that scene is actually present twice in the movie. There's the part towards the end when Homeboy jumps out of the closet or out of the bathroom, and that's where Jules has his epiphany when the guy comes out with that big stick and starts shooting at him, and misses every last bullet. So it's got to be
what happened here was a miracle, and I want you to fucking acknowledge it.
It's the best scene. Brad getting his, he gets blown away.
We got to talk about a Bible quote too, because that Ezekiel thing, I know Doc might have had it, but that's actually not quote for quote from the Bible. But Quentin Tarantino took that from another movie, and that's pretty freaking impressive. But also too, that it gave him an excuse to kill people, and at the end, it was his redemption. It gave him the excuse not to kill somebody.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger.
So what do you guys think was in the briefcase?
Okay, I'm glad we're talking about this. I want to do something real quick. I'm only going to do one thing because it's more conspiracy, if you will. Marcellus Wallace has a Band-Aid on the back of his neck. This could be because his soul was removed from his body, and he sold his soul to the devil, and he is on a quest to get his soul back. That being said, when you look into the briefcase, do you see your own soul, or do you see the soul of Marcellus Wallace, a cold-blooded killer? I don't think so. I think you see what you want to see. You hear what you want to hear. And that's all I got to say, because I want everybody to talk about what is in the briefcase. Who wants to talk about it?
It's an Oscar, isn't it? Isn't like I always thought that was supposed to be like kind of Tarantino's like thirst for going into filmmaking, earning that Oscar. And I always kind of interpreted that way too, just because of the goldish hue. But I like the open for interpretation. I'll always be a fan of a movie that has that kind of element to it, where it doesn't necessarily matter what's in the briefcase. The fact that it's valuable to all these key players in the movie.
Yeah. So interesting. And when I was kind of doing the research, Savage, I had not read that or seen that, but I do really like that interpretation of it being an Oscar. All it is talking about the soul, and about like folklore is that you get the soul when you sell your soul to the devil, he takes it through the back of your head. And then also the coincidence, or not really, of the combination of the briefcase being 666, kind of all, leads to that. Couple other fan theories. Beware, you'll like this first fan theory. Fans and I don't know the story behind this, don't know where it comes from, but folks think that it was Amazing Spider-Man #1. People have talked about that being in the briefcase for some reason. Another, what it was actually originally written to be, but they threw it away, was the diamonds from Reservoir Dogs. That was originally written in the screenplay, that's what it was going to be, but Tarantino didn't like that and just tossed that out. Another fan theory is that it's Elvis's gold suit that Val Kilmer wore in True Romance.
It is supposed to be the Quentin Tarantino universe, like Stephen King. Everything is, this is true though. Everything is supposed to connect in timelines in one way or the other. And that's why they even say there's theories out there that Rick Dalton is playing in Inglourious Bastards. That's a fan theory too, but Quentin Tarantino has gone on record saying that, yes, my movies are connected, and directors and writers do that.
It's interesting. Yeah. I've never put that together.
Well, I noticed, and I wouldn't have noticed it unless we watched Once Upon a Time, but the cigarettes that they're smoking are those Red Apple cigarettes in Pulp.
Yeah.
So a lot of the same.
Pack of Red Apples.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They order that. He orders that in Pulp Fiction, right?
Yep.
Yep.
But kind of closing out the briefcase, Tarantino has gone on record saying it is whatever you want it to be, and he's not committing to anything. And so, but it is fun to talk about it, like Beware was saying.
I love that. It makes it, just like the great white hiding under the sea that you don't see that much. It makes for a good mystery, but even more so, like I said, he's not breaking rules. He's really following them as far as filmmaking goes. But this movie is so, I don't want to say sloppy, but it just comes together so well when it's kind of all over the place. And yeah, maybe it's something you want to view a bunch of times, but you don't have to. Like Big Lebowski, even one of my favorite movies, it gets better as you watch it. Pulp Fiction is good from the beginning. It gets better. And I think that all of our Thread members could say that watching it the first time, it had a huge effect. We already nailed some quotables throughout the episode. A lot of the ones I have written down are there. One thing I do want to do is
Vincent,
we got to cue the Uma Thurman catch-up joke.
Do you want to hear my
because
Fox 5 joke?
It's so good. Come on, she's walking back.
I'd like to hear Uma tell it. Let's hear it, Uma.
I love her.
No, you won't laugh because it's not funny. but if you still want to hear it, I'll tell it.
I can't wait.
Okay. 3 tomatoes are walking down the street. Papa tomato, mama tomato, and baby tomato. Baby tomato starts lagging behind, and Papa tomato gets really angry. Goes back and squishes him. Says, ketchup.
All right, quotables, boys.
I really like in Pulp Fiction the scene where Travolta is gossiping. The Jules, Vincent, and the bartender in Marcellus Wallace's bar are gossiping about like what potentially happened with the guy. I can't remember exactly. I think that's what they're talking about.
Tony Rockley Hara.
He got thrown out of a window by Marcellus Wallace.
Exactly. And the bartender goes, "Hey man, my name's Paul, and that shit's between y'all." It's so weird line. And I love that. It's so random. I really like also when Uma Thurman decides to elect them for the dance
Right
off,
here.
and she looks him dead in the eyes and goes,
Want to dance? No. I do believe Marcellus, my husband, your boss, told you to take me out and do whatever I wanted. And now I want to dance.
I want to win. I want that trophy. So dance good. And he's just like, all right, I have no choice at this point. And they obviously go do their thing. My last line that I have is from Pulp Fiction specifically is when they say, when he comes down after Zed takes the shotgun blast to the chest, and Bruce Willis asks him if he's all right, and he goes, "No, man, I'm pretty fucking far from okay."
I think Zed takes that shotgun to the old dick.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He took it to the dick.
He took it to the dick. It was it was definitely purposefully took it to the dick.
Yeah.
Savage scene.
I got one from Jaws, just so we don't leave it out. The kids are crowding the fence. And Cap, I'm gonna pass this one to you. I hope you know it. It's not a motorcycle, baby. It's a chopper.
What's a chopper, baby? Wait.
Hey, what happened to my Honda?
I had to crash that Honda, baby.
Here we go, Doc. You got to have some quotables we didn't get to yet.
Can I just do like a rattle off a couple quick scenes that we didn't get a chance to mention?
Yeah, I like that.
I'll piggyback that too. There's a couple of quick things that I want to talk about.
So I know, and I can't argue like with the excitement of talking about Pulp Fiction scenes. I do want to highlight some Jaws scenes that really stood out to me. One is the scene on the beach with Alex Kittner. And his mom. And when, the shark attack happened the night before, Chief Brody's kind of all anxious and, he tried to shut the beaches down, but, politics got in the way, kind of similar, kind of treating the public health crisis, politically kind of similar to kind of what's going on now, but I digress.
That's so funny. I thought that's such an obvious thing to think about that. It's like this guy's fucking our president right now.
Yep. And but that scene got me emotionally because it's so I can't imagine being a parent of a kid that doesn't come back off the beach after seeing an attack like that, and how hysterical and how scary that would be. And that, that scene in and of itself got really, really moved me. And then also I already, planted this seed earlier, but the scene much later on in the movie of the story of the USS Indianapolis, where he's telling the story, where, maybe even leading up to that, where they're kind of drinking and singing and, comparing scars and war stories and things like that. But then you get this real intense narration of this crazy story that was actually like top secret for years, because they literally had delivered the bomb to be dropped on Hiroshima. And so being that undercover, nobody knew they're on their way back. Nobody knew that they got sunk, and they were out there for a long time. And hearing him talk about it's like, oh my gosh, it's just one of those stories that's like, you can't make up, that it has to be true right when you're hearing it. and just the weight of that, and puts it all together of why this guy is like he is, and why he has this vendetta against sharks, and but also just adds a weight to the movie and the character of Jaws, or what they called him Offset, which was Bruce, which Spielberg named him after his lawyer.
We're here to talk about these great movies. Sometimes just naming one scene or even a couple isn't enough, so I appreciate that.
I really appreciate this. Is a small part of the movie that I think is pretty cool, where Butch is leaving the pawn shop. He's escaped. He's knocked out the gimp, and he runs up the stairs, and he's out of there, and he thinks twice about leaving Marcellus Wallace down there, and he thinks about it, and then he almost leaves again. He thinks about it, and then he's like, all right, I'm staying. I'm locking the door, and I'm gonna choose a weapon. And that weapon choice, there's no words, but it says a lot. He just kind of walks around. He grabs a hammer. He grabs a bat. He grabs chainsaw, and then you see it's kind of at the height of that music that's playing. You can hear it. That samurai sword, and I also just think that that's like sort of a huge nod to just being like a huge part of his interest and his taste in his interest in kung fu and martial arts in general. But he gets the sword, and the coolest part of that scene is when he's got the white tucked in t-shirt into his jeans, and he's walking down the stairs, gripping that sword, walking real slow with the sword. That is awesome to me. With the music and in the no dialogue, that is like one of the coolest parts of the movie to me.
So real quick, you mentioned the music, which is the song being played is called Comanche by the Rebels, which is kind of like this surfer kind of jazzy kind of weird song. Do you guys know what song that Tarantino tried to get for that scene, the rape scene or the gimp scene?
Do not know. What is it?
My Sharona.
Oh, God.
Jeez. That's small fact. That's actually Jeffrey Feiger's brother. That's the lead singer. He went to Oak Park High School. That's just a little
way.
Yeah, wow. From the knack. Yeah.
No kidding.
So one of my favorite just quote scenes, whatever you want to call it, is when Mrs. Wallace mistakenly thinks that she's sniffing coke, but it's not. It's choco, heroin from Lance, the drug dealer played by Eric Stoltz, and so he's trying to so Vincent's trying to figure out what to do with with Mrs. Wallace because she's ODing, and so he calls Lance, and Lance is saying, "Are you calling me on the cellular phone? I don't know you. Who is this? Don't come here. I'm hanging up the phone. Prank caller. Now that part gets me every time. I think it's probably my favorite line in the movie. It's just so ridiculous.
What about Vincent? I got to stab her 3 times.
You bring it down in a stabbing motion.
I love when he's going, get the shot.
The one with all the shit in her face?
The one with all the shit in her face. That part kills me too.
That's my wife. And then they both have a laugh. I'm sorry, man.
So real quick, that scene when he is, bringing the adrenaline down into her, they actually shot that in reverse. So they shot it with him pulling it out. And
wow,
so
that makes sense.
Played it, so it looks like boom, he's coming down on her hard.
That's cool. I like that. That's interesting. The sound effect that they have for that, where it's you got to bring it down and break the breastplate. Oh my God, it's like And when she wakes up, she does a great job. Oh, Uma. She's fucking screaming her fucking head off like she just came back from the dead. It's perfect.
With a syringe hanging out of her heart.
Yeah, you're all
right. And say something.
Something.
And then Arquette goes.
That was fucking trippy.
Hey, that's an interesting point,
You know what I'm
everybody.
saying?
It's an interesting point. Come on, let's get in the character.
Beware. Talk about some scenes that you wanted to make sure didn't get left out of the discussion.
I actually wanted to throw one from Jaws. I really like the scene in Jaws when they first put the bounty out for the shark, and all of these people are these random like kooks are out in the water, and they're throwing dynamite into the water, and everybody knows it's about to be a failed mission and it's about to be
This
a
is so
disaster.
good.
And it's just absolutely ridiculous. And
When we get them silly bastards down in that rock pile, there'll be some fun. They'll wish their fathers had never met their mothers when they start taking their bottoms out and slamming into them rocks, boy. Get away from there, you goddamn fool, you! What's the matter with you? Want to swap with your crazy son of a bitch? What are you doing? What are these guys doing out here? What are you doing back there, man?
that's just a fantastic scene, and I think it really does kind of set the tone for like what you're about to get into in terms of how everybody's going to try to think it's an easy thing that can be done. You know, anybody can get this shark. It's not a big deal, and obviously it's a 20-footer, and they have no clue what they're about to get into. And then the follow-up scene actually with the dock, where the guys are at night and they try to get it in the big chunk of meat, and they take I was supposed to eat this for dinner or whatever they say, and
roast.
Yeah, my wife's roast, blah blah blah. And then
What about when Hooper comes in and says, "All these guys are gonna die"?
I love that. Because that's like he's coming into all this madness, and that's how you kind of meet him. And he's like trying to be cautious and trying to warn them, and they kind of just they blow him off, and he goes, "Oh, they're all gonna die."
Yeah, it's something that I think Savage and I were talking about. It's just the summer feel of Jaws. It's so great. It does really put you in a time and place in that movie. Some of the scenery, it feels like they took over the whole town, and I'd be willing to bet they did. And all the extras are super on point, and then and it's just the music is really on point too. When you kind of actually, it's not even like the music; it's like the scenery, the sounds and scenery of those. Just the kind of the bulk of the movie, the guts of the movie. It really kind of takes you there and it puts you in the place. And when you're experiencing it with a bunch of your cuds outside too, that definitely brings it together. Rounding out July 2020.
Also, that there's that shooting star that happens in the movie behind the chief, and you see that shooting star, and it's a good shooter, and it kind of spans like almost from the far right side of the screen all the way over.
Not a special effects, folks.
We did find out not a special effect, and actually shortly after that scene at Chateau Sauvage, we actually saw a shooting star going in the similar trajectory. As exactly. Where's Conan?
If you don't got it, I got you.
right. Going in a similar trajectory that we were able to see. I thought that was pretty good and apropos.
Hey, that's always a sign of good luck, isn't that right, Doc?
Yeah, always a sign of good luck. Also, can we talk about that jump scene real quick?
It's so good.
Best jump scene in a movie, man.
I jumped back. I had my right hand on Mrs. Savage's waistline and my left hand on Beware's kneecap, and for that one, and it was
Doc, take us through it step by step. Like, why does that end up being so creepy?
When guys, kind of right after that, all the folks go
Sorry,
out.
I'm getting ready to dive. Sorry about that.
Yep. And so they go in, they approach the boat that sunk, and then like all it was giving the impression Hooper's kind of getting ready to go dive underneath and check things out, and he's under there, and it's pretty still, and he's checking out this. You see this tooth hanging in the hole of this bow of this ship, and like that's got your attention, and so you're going in and he's getting that thing and checking it out, and you're totally focused on that. And then suddenly, without warning and any expectation at all,
I had a plastic cup and it completely broke because I jumped hard.
Come on, that's epic. If you're tossing the popcorn, that's almost too cliche. Beware, toss the popcorn.
Beware, you had just sort of seen it recently, hadn't you? You kind of.
in the past
knew
6
that was
months,
coming.
I totally forgot about that.
And it's a
Totally.
movie that's meant to be seen on the big screen, I guess.
I can't remember if it was that scene or another scene earlier in the movie, but Spielberg was in this documentary I was watching. Spielberg was saying when he was watching the premiere, watching the audience's reaction to the premiere, he knew those were scenes that the audiences were going to jump at. And at one of those, somebody started walking out of this movie, and he's like, "Oh, great! Like my first walk out or whatever." And they started running, and they got out of the door and threw up because of the scene was so. And I can't remember if it was that one or another one earlier, but he was
savage
like, "Oh,
scene."
okay.
Hey, they're running out with savage scenes in them.
PG.
PG, yeah. I'm just my little girl just turned 8. We're watching it tomorrow. Let's see how she takes it. She doesn't swim anyways. Maybe this will teach her to swim. So she.
There's a lot of like
disembodied.
There's like the leg that sinks down, and you know, a lot of blood like squirting up when the first kid gets
subtle
hit.
murder, but somehow savage.
But then like the jump is an eyeless dead body, which is kind of like even more like scary. There's like a gaping hole in his eye socket. It's God.
Why I got the time to go first. I'm sorry when I get greedy about going first, but I don't want anybody to steal this piece of memorabilia from me. I have to get the anchor jacket that is worn by somebody called for me, so I don't have to.
The mayor.
Thank you. Let alone shout out to our second sponsor, Anchor, who's host our podcast. I'm feeling really good about them. They help us upload this shit in like a matter of sometimes 15 minutes when it's ready, and I appreciate Anchor as a service for podcasts. And I want that Anchor jacket to wear on our next guys trip. Who else has got a piece of memorabilia?
I will take a few things, if I may. I don't think anybody's going to take these things. I'm going to take the family heirloom. I'll go with Butch's watch.
You're pretty greedy to take a few things, though. You took the whole trailer park last week, I think, and I really wanted a Brady. I don't have a Pipple like you do.
It's Brandy, so you don't even know her name. So I don't think you're very deserving of Brandy. I don't think you're going to take good care of her. I just want the watch, and I want the kangaroo that the watch got left on. Yeah, that's
fair. Beware, you got a memorabilia item?
Yeah, I like the pic. There's a painting in Mia Wallace's living room. It's a girl smoking a cigarette. It pretty much is supposed to be. It looks like her. It's kind of it's a girl sitting on a couch smoking a cigarette, and Vincent Vega just stops and stares at it for a minute, and that would be a nice piece to add to the living room here. Gold frame, dig it.
We're acquiring a lot of artwork. I love that, and I know Doc has acquired property before. I think he might potentially have his second piece of property because he was digging that view from the ocean that our old boy Martin had, Brody.
Oh my God.
What Beware was saying about that painting, that was actually intended to be a painting of Mia Wallace. And who actually painted that in real life was one of Tarantino's buddies from the video store that he used to work at, who I think is part of his like design coordinator or something. It was his brother or something like that. So it was made for the movie of supposed to be Uma Thurman or Mia Wallace. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think when we were watching this together, I jokingly said, about the house, Chief Brody's house on the island, and then I jokingly said Amity Island. But I think I'll go simple this time, and I think that big shark tooth that in that jump scene that he pulls out of the boat, that
size of a shot glass.
Yep, size of a shot glass. I think that's what I would want to take away from these movies.
This is the time of the night where I like to go to Doc for the awards because I have no idea. I love my movies. I have no idea who's going to win what, and I don't really even think about it until right now, and that's what I love. One of my favorite parts of the show. We're going to go to Doc for the awards.
Jaws, 1975. As we mentioned, this was Spielberg's second film. This was John Williams as a composer. He had done a lot before this, but hadn't really got much into feature films before. And so this movie ended up being nominated 4 times, and including Best Picture, and Best Sound, Best Film Editing, and Best Music or Original Score. interestingly, and they took away 3 wins. So they won 3 of the 4 nominations. The 3 that they won were sound and film editing, and then also the music original score. Some of the things that we talked about at the very beginning of like, these were things that Spielberg had to eventually rely on to tell the story, the film editing, the sound, and the audience agreed. And again, we all think that this is what makes Jaws such a great movie. Took away those 3 awards. What it didn't win, though, was Best Picture, which another movie won that during that year, 1975-76. Can anybody guess what movie that was? It's one that we've already reviewed.
It's got to be
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right? Yeah,
Hey, I agree. That might be the first time I agree with the Academy.
Yep.
Completely agree.
So moving over to Pulp Fiction, Pulp Fiction was nominated 7 times, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Lead Actor, Travolta, Best Supporting Actor, Sam Jackson, Best Supporting Actress, Uma Thurman, Best Editing, and Best Writing Screenplay.
I would think that Jules would have been the main character, not Travolta.
I felt the same thing.
I would also say that, like, obviously Travolta's career, he was more famous, so maybe that's why, I guess.
Doc's got you.
He gets the lead.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. But actually, Travolta is actually in all the storylines. So he appears in all of those, like with the, he's in the Butch storyline. He's obviously in the.
You're right. Yeah, that's
he's alone. He's alone with Mrs. Wallace a lot of the time too, and that's a big chunk of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So this was, again, 1994. They only won 1 of those, but 1994 was.
Hey, can we try to guess? We got to guess it.
Yeah,
Travolta.
1994 was a crazy year. So they only won writing screenplay. So Tarantino took away that. But listen to this, guys. So Best Picture, 1994. I'll tell you who was in the category with them: Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump. So which one do you guys think took that one home?
Oh, Shawshank.
Soundtrack?
Oh, no, actually, I'll go with Forrest Gump.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forrest Gump. Yep.
Over Shawshank?
Yeah, because IMDb isn't a part of this. This is the Academy. They're doing Forrest Gump. They love that.
Forrest Gump won big this year. Best Director was Robert Zemeckis, Forrest Gump. Best Lead Actor, Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. Best Supporting Actor was Robert Landau from Ed Wood. And Best Editing went to Forrest Gump as well. So Gump basically was taking it home.
Well, that's these period pieces, as we've said before, that the Academy loves that shit instead of originality. But hey, it doesn't matter. We're here discussing the 64 greatest movies of all time, and this is our thread, so we make our decisions. Really, before we get into the vote, I want to hear that drinking song that I was very impressed by a few of our members were singing from Jaws last night. Like, I don't even know how you know that, but I've always wanted to raise a glass while singing the same thing, but I can't say I know any songs like that. I know.
Had another drink about an hour ago, and it got in my head.
Good job, guys.
Hey, dun-na, 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 dun-na. It's time to see if the shark wins, or if if we get our soul from the briefcase. I'll go. I'm taking the soul, man. What I see in the briefcase is one of Quentin Tarantino's best movies of all time. It's not an Oscar. I don't like the Academy. I don't care about that. I love that when I open that briefcase, I'm seeing, but I don't know it yet. I don't know it until the end of the whole series, folks. What is my favorite Quentin Tarantino film of all time? I can't say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now that I want to see them all, and I don't think we're done yet. We got another Quentin Tarantino film or 2 to go. It's my favorite DVD in there. It's Shining. It's shining for me, and it's Pulp Fiction right now, because that's the greater movie. But I don't know what my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie is, just because I have to put them all under that lens again. Pulp Fiction for me. Savage?
Yeah, this one's not very difficult for me at all, actually, and I think it would have been not very difficult had it still been Birdman versus Pulp Fiction. It's Pulp Fiction with a bullet. That's the movie.
Cap, as you smoke your red apple out on your front porch, I'm not mad at you. I could use one myself.
I was really surprised that Jaws got the PG rating. It's a terrifying movie, especially for 1975. The opening scene, you've got this teenager with you do see teenage side tit. I'd like to point that out. I think this movie is about a pedophile shark. He
Epstein
forcibly
shark.
He's clearly, it's implied, but he's forcibly going down on this girl in the water, and it just creeps me out. So, just kidding.
Oh, Cap cries wolf, ladies and gentlemen. And we get it every once in a while.
Cap cries wolf.
I will say that I very much appreciated Jaws, and I did think it was a good mulligan. That being said, I can't ignore Pulp Fiction. It's a powerhouse movie. It's maybe the first of its kind. It's really Tarantino showing off his filmmaking chops, and I will cast my vote for Pulp Fiction.
Well, I agree, but you don't know shit about chop.
You do? You're a fucking expert. I'll chop
I'm going to pass it to the doc before we pass it to Beware, who was the mulligan replacer. Doc, the doc.
Yeah, so all it is, I almost forgot you gave me a homework assignment.
Oh, man, I forget. I appreciate that research. Doc, I'm reading a book right now you gave me. I'll just go ahead and say, I'm going to read this book. And I'll tune back in with you. But as soon as you tell me what this book is that John Travolta, Vince was reading on the shitter, I'm going to go buy it right away.
Yeah, so this book is the first time we see it is when he's on the shitter in Butch's apartment, but he actually gets it in the diner when goes to the bathroom earlier. And so that's the scene where he comes out of the bathroom. He's holding the book and the gun, and then they leave holding the book. And then that's the same book that he's reading. And the book is actually called Modesty Blaze, and it's by Peter O'Donnell. It's a real book, and it's about a female spy. And it's kind of similar. It's actually a pulp comic and or a pulp kind of story, and kind of racy action-based story. And it is kind of similar to maybe the storyline of like Fox Force 5 of Mia Wallace, kind of what she was explaining. But yeah, it's a book that actually Quentin Tarantino loves and has tried to sign on to like make a movie about, or has like producing rights or something like that. But yeah, real book, Modesty Blaze.
I will read it soon.
I'm going to just kind of echo a couple of what the guys said, and I won't kind of dwell on my vote too long, but I do want to say I appreciate Beware putting Jaws in the mix, man, because I definitely think that this is a movie that belongs to be in our Threads bracket. I think it definitely made this a little bit more challenging. I think Pulp Fiction is a powerhouse, so going up against something like a Birdman, it probably would have just been no contest at all. So having Jaws and being able to watch it with my guds on a Saturday summer night, last night of July, really made for an awesome movie watching experience. And I learned a lot about the movie, learned a lot about Steven Spielberg, learned a lot about just adversity and all that went into making that movie. But when it comes down to it, man, I mean, Pulp Fiction, this is a phrase that we use on here, but it checks all the boxes. It checks boxes that I didn't even know I had, and it checks them. It's phenomenal. And although Jaws is what it is and the first summer blockbuster, and has a lot of historical underpinnings to it, and a lot of great scenes, which actually another little research that I did, Will, you'll like this, the scene on the beach where we talk about, like, that was an awesome scene where they do that kind of zoom in on Chief Brody. That was called a forward tracking zoom out. And it's actually a shot now that's used. They refer to it as the Jaws shot in film school and stuff. And so kind of a unique aspect that this movie kind of, the fingerprint that it left on filmmaking. But I got to go Pulp Fiction.
All right, Beware. Like you said, the mulligan was a very well played. Did it happen to be your favorite movie, Jaws, over Pulp Fiction? I'm very curious.
Definitely not. I mean, who are we kidding?
I figured as much, but I thought maybe we'd have a 4-1.
They're both classics, no question. They both left their mark on the industry and kind of changed the way movies are made. One of them is more of a classic, straightforward, linear movie, and it delivers. You know, it's as scary as hell. It's definitely not PG, and it'll literally leave you jumping out of your seat. But I mean, compared to Pulp Fiction feels like it's a level up in movies in general. It feels like while movies were definitely jumping around a little bit, it feels like this is the first one that really brought that home and delivered that to the next level. And I think that in and of itself kind of makes it to me the better movie, just because it feels so cutting edge, and it still does, you know. But on top of the fact that it's cutting edge, like I said, it doesn't miss a beat. Every 5 minutes, you're just getting, you know, another one of your classic scenes, classic lines, classic characters. It's just such an A+ movie all around. The dialogue is probably some of the best dialogue in any movie ever. And I guess I got to save some points because we're going to definitely be seeing this one going on probably for a few rounds. So
I was just going to say, this could go to the final 4, folks. You never know. Ladies and gentlemen, special time of the night when we go to the hat, and let's go to the hat. So
Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the.
Take your hat off. Excuse me.
Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the hat. Let's go to the.
I have one. I know there's some teenier ones and teeny. This one feels long today. I have no idea. Ooh, geez, don't spill. All right, you know what I do. I look and I see if I have it right side up. It is upside down, folks. Now it is not right side up. Turn around to the left. Okay, my thumb's on it. I didn't get R.L. Stein's last week for Pulp Fiction or Birdman, even though I really loved Pulp Fiction. Let's see if I get some R.L. Stein's tonight. They're definitely starting to happen. The first title got me going, got me really nervous, man. You know, something I'm a little bit more scared of than a shark is a serial killer that has no fucking conscience. Is the baddest motherfucker you might have ever seen in film.
Shit.
Does anybody want to guess what movie that is?
No Country.
Silence of the Lambs.
Nope. Oh my God. Shut up, Cap. Savage, you get it spot on. I am never going to pick Silence of the Lambs for that.
Don't you talk to me like that, all it is.
It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Or, oh my God.
Once Upon a Time in No Country.
Folks, I'm sorry. I love you all so much.
No Country
Savage
for
had
Old
it right
Farts.
with No Country for Old Men versus Swingers.
Oh boy.
This is going to be tricky, man. Swingers did a lot of things, but so did No Country for Old Men, dude. Coen Brothers, classic. This is the time of the night. I don't know.
Call it.
Do you want to? Does anybody want to do a mulligan?
Somebody should get Swingers out of there because we don't have any other comedies in there.
Ooh, I like this. So the the people that have lost their mulligan can kind of persuade people. I agree.
I will disagree. I think Raising Arizona is a comedy, but
yeah, you're right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Savage, you still have your mulligan.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it.
Say the magic word, baby. You invented
I'm gonna use my mulligan.
Ooh, cue it.
Mulligan.
So I think I love Swingers a lot. I don't think it belongs in here. I'd rather see a closer.
Excellent. I watched it recently and it's excellent, to be honest.
I did too. I did appreciate it. I think that it can get mulligan though. I don't know.
It's a great movie, but I want to put The Fugitive in place of that. I think that makes for a really good matchup, and I'll explain why in my 30 seconds. I think that The Fugitive is one of those movies that is such a kick-ass, who done it mixed with the chase, the cat and mouse game. I think
Arguably Harrison Ford's greatest film.
also it's going to be a Tommy Lee Jones slugfest. So I kind of want to bring both those movies against each other in a Tommy Lee Jones off. I don't know what the rest of the thread has to say.
My favorite movies. I kind of saw this coming at some point. I will just go ahead and say yes. I think The Fugitive is an awesome movie, and I'm 100% in.
What I'll say to that is I love how strategic Savage is. He thinks it out. He tries to make the battle a little bit more fair. And I trust you. I kind of just wonder if if you lose your mulligan, not much more greatness can be replaced with greater. So I say, go ahead. Let's do it. Fugitive. Haven't seen it in 10 years. Let's watch it. Beware.
I liked Fugitive. I remember liking The Fugitive a lot when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And there's definitely some star-studded performances in that. So I'm not opposed to it. I think it's more of ultimately my thing is I think it's more of a fair matchup than Swingers.
Now, Beware, myself, and Savage are no longer allowed to use their mulligan. Doc, do you feel like that we got a good thing going, that Savage is pretty strategic with this shit?
So Swingers, I think, is like a quintessential movie of kind of our generation. And I don't know, I feel like it should be in a bracket that we all talk about. I do agree, though, that it probably is more comedy. I was thinking that like this bracket needs more Harrison Ford. And I was thinking that I love a good, I think I like putting this as a Tommy Jones battle. And I think, but I know The Fugitive has some great quotes, and it's a great movie.
Can't wait.
It's actually a movie that Sweet Amy has not seen. And
we don't have Harrison Ford on the list.
I know that for a fact because I tried to get her to watch it recently, and we decided.
Wow,
awesome!
Hey, we don't have Harrison Ford on the list, though, do we? This is his only movie. We don't have Harrison Ford on the list.
I think this is his only movie. Yeah, we don't have Blade Runner on, so yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, another sweep. We have a sweep for a mulligan. That means we're on the same page with replacing great with greater, and we're here to find the greatest, folks. So next week, episode 12, we have No Country for Old Men with a mulligan replacement by Savage, The Fugitive, that has replaced Swingers. Farewell, Swingers. Ladies and gentlemen, there is 2 more mulligans left, Doc and Cap, correct?
Correct.
I still got mine.
All right, babies. Well, I don't, I'm excited about that. But Savage, I approve this message brought to you by Savage, and homework time's in. I'm watching Fugitive first. I'm gonna have, I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm excited to watch it. No Country for Old Men, I've seen a bunch of times, and I'm rooting for Fugitive for whatever reason.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you brought up mulligans, and
shit,
you said Cap and I got ours left. No, I'm not gonna go that route, but because honestly, I've got some in front of me right now, and I don't know if I'm crazy about my mulligan list, and so I don't know all it is. I might be interested to hear what our listeners think might be. What would they propose as a mulligan? And maybe if our listeners are out there, if you can throw our email out there, maybe if they can send in some potential mulligan options, because I'm looking at my list. I got a couple. I know Cap's probably got a good couple examples, but it might be cool to hear from our viewers, our listeners, if they have some good suggestions too.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you basically have the chance to replace our doc's mulligan vote. If you just send a simple email to the number 4, our favorite number, 4 our thread podcast @gmail.com. What movie would you replace? Doc's going to put it on his list. He just told you he would. Send an email out to number 4, ourthreadpodcast@gmail.com and replace Doc's mulligan. I love that. We'd call that like our first lifeline. I remember in episode 00, we were talking about lifelines, and we haven't had any yet.
What else information you think they might need?
So just check out episode 0, ladies and gentlemen. That'll tell you we read the whole bracket. It's still there. And then, hey, just follow episode 1 through 10 to 11, and you'll figure it out, folks. I know you're here with us. Welcome to our thread. We're going to see you next week for episode 12.
No Country for Old Men versus The Fugitive.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Well, it's very, homey.
What? Are you kidding? We got us a family here.
I hope you realize how you hurt my feelings.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud. Next place.
Just take it easy, man.
I'm perfectly calm, dude.
Yeah, waving the fucking gun around?
Calmer than you are.
Now, look, I made a mistake, all right? It didn't make any difference anyway.
Hey, I'm letting it go. But don't say it doesn't matter. Every line matters.
Get off my back!
Don't fuck with my plan!
And like that, he's gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread Podcast, bringing our content to you, featuring All It Is.
It's official, old buddy. Well, has been.
Beware.
From then on, he was known as Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
The Doc.
You're the doc, Doc.
The Pimp.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Big fuck!
And myself, Savage.
I'm 6'5", 220, and there's 2 of me.